How's it going, guys? Here's your boy John, back with another video. This week I want to talk about something that's a little bit close to home, and by home I mean Singapore, since I've been here for 10 years and I feel like I live here longer than I've lived. That's not true. I've lived in my hometown for 18 years before I came here. Anyhow, getting off track at the very start. So this period in Singapore is Ghost Festival, if you don't know. What have I talked about? So what I wanted to talk about was the Ghost Festival and how everyone in Singapore just seems to agree on something on a subconscious level, which is like trashing is fine, burning up paper, a shit ton of paper to cloud up the whole neighborhood. That's a bit of a hyperbole, but it's like you're burning so much paper or so many paper to a point where you're actually making it hard for other people to breathe, or you're basically getting in the way of other people, right, by burning paper. Not only that, you are trashing the earth, you're trashing up your neighborhood, even though it's just a corner and you don't really clean up after yourself. So I have like a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. First of which is my gripes, which include trashing and polluting the earth, the other one is more of my fascination. Like I find it really fascinating how people think that by offering these by burning up these paper, they're basically making an offering for their predecessor, for their deceased predecessor. Could be grandpa, great grandpa, whatever. And it's like, because I like to come up with stories of things that I don't really understand. I mean, I could have just looked it up on the internet, and I did, and they said it's about afterlife. So basically, I think it's during the month of August and September. There's like a little window. There's like a little window where ghosts can just come up from. I thought they would just come down from heaven, but apparently it's from underworld, and they just out here hanging out, walking the streets without permission. So rude, Chinese people. I'm sorry, please don't be offended, okay? I was joking. Yeah, it's such a fascinating thing about this whole festival, and it's basically about dead people, just walking about, coming up onto life, onto real life from afterlife. I imagine afterlife would be like heaven, right? Why would you be allowed to come up from hell? I don't know. So that's what I thought about. And another thing that I thought about is it's like you're offering money. It's like you're offering paper money to your deceased relatives. So obviously, it's got to have some monetary value in afterlife, right? So I really wanted to know how it all worked. I mean, someone came up with this at some point. So that person, I don't know if that person thought the whole thing through or not. The origin of okay, I think I'm getting way ahead of myself. So let's get back to the origin of the festival. So it's more common. It's commonly for like Buddhist and Taoist families. So my family is Buddhist, but we don't really do that. So first thing, that's more for like it's a religious event, first and foremost. Second thing is that you only do it like once a year. So thank God. So it's in August and September. So I don't know, like 15th of the month or something like that. where people just started like burning paper and shit, and I don't know, it's I mean that's the origin. It's not really like a good origin or anything like that. But so I was just getting onto my my fascination. I think that's a little bit more fun to talk about because at some point I came up with like so many theories about this festival without really knowing what it was about. I think it was last year. I mean, I came across this. I mean, it's out in the open, right? Everyone's burning paper, doing offerings. It includes food, burning of paper mache, just burning of those yellow paper. I think they're called like Joss paper or like ghost money, something like that. So I see it every single year. And last year, I was dating this Chinese girl, and I posted this Instagram stories of like the aftermath of the paper burning. Right, it's like around 9:30, 10 at night, and I was just like, oh look at all the trash that they made. Look at all the mess they made. It's like everywhere on the ground, right? And and she texted me. She was like, yo, make sure you don't step on any of those papers. And I was like, whoops. I was not supposed to step on them, but they're everywhere on the floor. And I'm like, dude, if you don't want people to step on your offering, why are they even on the floor, right? So that really pissed me off, because apparently if you step on them, a ghost might follow you back home. Like, nobody warned me about this. I mean, partially it's my fault because, you know, I didn't try to educate myself on this matter. But then again, if you're going to be doing offerings, might as well do it properly. Make sure all your paper get into that fire pit, right? Why do you have to inconvenience other people to just walk around your paper? So that's really what pissed me off the most. I was like, F them. It's my right to walk on the paper if I wanted to. I mean, I did, but thankfully there was no ghost that followed me back home, and I don't believe in any of that, right? So didn't really matter. So that's one thing. Another thing is like something that I kind of find it hard to understand is Singapore is famous for being clean, like for being the cleanest city or country on earth, right? And I mean the standard is kind of slipping a little bit. I don't know if you've been to Geylang. The streets are messy as hell, especially in the morning. But don't want to get too political. But like every time this Ghost Festival rolls around, the government kind of just like turn a blind eye on this thing. It's like people are like trashing everywhere, yellow paper everywhere on the street. They're burning up the whole neighborhood. Well, not the whole. They're burning up the whole neighborhood corner. Right, so it's like smoking everywhere. It's fire hazard, right? It's fire hazard. No one's like, what the hell are you doing? Do it at your house. No one raised an eyebrow. By no one, I mean like government officials, right? They're not. I don't know what I was expecting. I was like, at least NEC, National Environment Agency or Council should walk around and be like, you burning too many paper, or you throwing papers on the floor, pick them up. No one said such thing. And I don't know, it just kind of bothered me a little bit. And I'm like, Singapore government is banning. I mean, every time this rolls around, they just sort of like bend the rules a little bit. Like, all right, in August we are not gonna be the cleanest city. Let's just fucking deal with that. I said, fuck, I shouldn't have. Yeah, so I mean, those are just like couple of my gripes. You're inconveniencing other people. You're polluting the earth. So from what I read from Wikipedia. That's the very first thing that came up. It's like, I think it was in 2014. The temples, these Taoist and Buddhist temples, collected about $140 million, probably like 400 to like $400 million in donation just for those papers alone. And I'm like, yo, that's a lot of money, you know? And it's in 2014. Can you imagine in 2020 it could be a lot more or a lot less because of the economy? I don't know. But, you know, the thing is, it's a lot of money. They could just like, everyone, all the religious people around the world could just organize and be like, what if we just donate this money that we're going to be spending on, you know, on this burning activity, and we just send it to somewhere, and then everyone just like sort of combine all the money and start a fund or something, you know, for, I don't know, old religious people that could be in the billions. I think I can imagine every year $1 billion is a lot of money. Well, aside from that, my fascination with the festival is sky high. I love coming up with stories. Like sometimes they could be just crazy stories about anything. But when it comes to this, I would tell my colleagues and my friends about what I came up with. It's like so let's say you're offering these to your deceased relatives. So it could be like your grandpa, right? Let's say it's your grandpa, and he's in afterlife, right? So you're making this offerings for him, and so like how does it work? So there's got to be a monetary value in the afterlife for this to make sense, right? So do they receive this amount of money that you burn in a lump sum, you know? So it automatically goes into their afterlife bank account, and then they can just buy whatever they want for the rest of the year. And then next year rolls around, they call you up. By calling you up, they come into your dream. They kind of like sneak into your dream and be like, son, maybe like this year around, additional $100 million. Burn additional $100 million or 100 million yuan, right? Because your grandpa is broke. I have a new wife. I don't know. I have a lot of spendings and shit like that. So that's what I think about. And if they have this afterlife and they need money to survive and to live in the afterlife, they gotta have jobs in afterlife, right? So they can't just wait around every single week. What if there's like a grandma out there whose relative in this life just completely forgot about burning paper, and she's broke, she's dead broke, she hasn't eaten in like 20 years. Like, what's gonna happen to her if there's no job in the afterlife? How's she gonna survive in the afterlife? And no one's doing offering, so she doesn't get anything. She doesn't get food. She doesn't get a new car. She doesn't get a house. She doesn't get like money, anything like that. And I'm like, that is. I mean, it would be such an unfair system, right? So that's what I think about. So once I start, the thing is, once I start thinking about all of that stuff, I can't stop. I would just continue thinking to a point where it just goes down that dark path, like a grandpa or a dad spending all that cash in a strip club. And yeah, next year, like, son, your dad's broke. Like, I don't know. That's what I yeah, I've been thinking about that for the past few weeks, and I share like part of what I thought about with my friends, with my colleagues, and and a lot of them, like, that's the thing, a lot of them agree with me in a way where, especially Singaporean Chinese, I think the younger generation are kind of like getting over that. They don't really believe in that tradition anymore. And when it started out, it's more of like a religious act, right? You're doing something for your dead relatives so that they will have a better life in the afterlife. Something like that. That's what I thought about. But now it's become more of like a tradition. Like, you have to do it because that's what everyone before you has been doing, so you should do the same thing just to fulfill that tradition, right? And I mean, eventually it's going to lose its meaning. Hopefully it doesn't, because it's actually really, I find it really fascinating, partially because I can just come up with crazy stories about this festival, but it's also because, like, I don't know, I just feel like some traditions are good to keep, some are bad, of course, but obviously you don't want people to be trashing everywhere. I think it's pretty similar to a tradition back home in Myanmar. Hopefully people back home will back me up on this. It's the water festival. We have that every single year. It's more of like a New Year event. So our New Year is like super cool. People just throwing water at each other. So it's supposed to mean, the meaning of the tradition is supposed to represent like washing away your sins from past year before you move on to the new year. So people spend the festival, or the water festival, the New Year water festival, runs for 5 days, 5 consecutive days, depending on the year. Sometimes it could be 7 days, but mostly 5. And you're supposed to just douse people with water, and over time it's become like a rave party. It's everywhere, like not everywhere. Now, if you, I think it's around April every single year. If you go to Myanmar around April, you'll see people with water guns soaking each other, and there are stages where people have set up like EDM parties and stuff, and people will be drinking. Some people will be doing good deeds. Some people bad stuff. You know how it is. But now it's more like it's more of like a recreational event, like more of a fun thing, compared as opposed to like a tradition. I mean, it's still a tradition, but it over time it's kind of lost that meaning for younger people. I mean, I haven't celebrated that for a little over 10 years now, ever since I left the country. But yeah, so I think it's a bit similar to that in that regard. It's I mean, like I said, it's traditions are good to have, but there's some traditions that we can live without. There's some traditions that are not necessarily fitting for this modern day. Can't really think of anyone on top of my head, but most importantly, I'm not getting into the religious part of this, because I can just talk about religion on its own for like 20 minutes, and how I'm not a big fan of it, but not today. So yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts with the world on this tradition, this ghost festival, and how I kind of like find it fascinating at the same time. Hope you guys enjoy my antics, my thoughts. If you do, let me know in the comment below, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next videos.